Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together. So beginning with one of our questions that comes in from our global family, joining us through this gift of technology. What can I do about boredom? Sometimes I feel like life is so boring. The same thing over and over and over every day. I know it's me, but how do I stop the monotony? If you're bored, it means you're not engaged. If we're actually engaged and connected with life, we'll never be bored. Boredom comes when I've disengaged, and so I'm looking for something to stimulate me, excite me. But if I'm connected, I'm never going to be bored. Ever. You know, it's interesting in schools these days, especially in the West, but it's starting more and more in India as well. We have so many youth who are being diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. And these are kids who are seemingly acting out. The disease is hyperactivity, so you've got kids who are being hyper, acting out, not sitting still. And what's the most interesting about it is the medicine that they use to treat this. If the kid is so bad, and he or she is literally bouncing off the walls with hyperactivity, and finally someone suggests, take this kid to a doctor or a psychiatrist. The medicine that they're giving these kids is actually speed. Okay? It's a medicine that excites them. Okay? Now, sorry, wire issues. There we go. So, the medicine that they're given is a medicine that actually stimulates them. Now, you would think if we've got kids who are hyperactive, if you didn't know about the brain and you didn't know this research, common sense would say, give these kids something to calm them down. Right? If someone is hyper, common sense says, give them something to relax them, to calm them down. But the medicine that works for kids who are hyperactive is actually a stimulant, not what they call a depressant, something that's going to calm down the working of my nervous system. Now, why do I mention that here when we're talking about boredom? The reason that these kids are bouncing off the walls and are hyperactive is they are not stimulated. That is why the medicine that works is a medicine that stimulates them. They're actually understimulated, bored, you could say, and hence they are acting out because kids don't tend to have the ability, like adults do, to just sit there and be bored. If kids are bored, you're going to know about it, right? So the medicine for boredom is stimulation. Now, as a quick aside, because so many of you are parents or will be parents, and teachers and educators and mentors, one of the reasons I believe that we have so many more cases of ADD and ADHD these days, it's a disease that is increasing and increasing and increasing as the years go by. Some people say, oh, it's just being diagnosed more. But I don't think so. I actually think it is increasing at horrible rates. And the reason that it's increasing, I think, is that most kids are spending most of their time operating a device. It used to be video games. If you think about what's happened with TV, well, it used to be just a show. And the show used to be things like this family or that family. And that which happened on TV kind of looked like the stuff that happened in normal life, just it was happening to other people. What's happening with TV now, number one is we've got one show we're watching. Then there's another show that we've got in a little square on the top so that we can actually be following two shows simultaneously. Then we've got breaking news streaming across the bottom of our screens. And every moment that someone in our show takes a breath, we check our phone. Now, with children, their brains are developing constantly. Now, when you've got stimuli that is coming at them so fast, pay attention when you listen to a TV commercial the next time. How fast they talk on a TV commercial. I mean, you literally have to kind of jog in place or run in place to keep up with the speed they are speaking. Now, for them, it makes sense. They're paying per second. They've bought a 15-second slot or a 30-second slot. They have to get it all in just 15 seconds, so they're going to talk really, really, really fast. The problem is that with developing brains, that becomes normal. This is why kids are able to follow what's going on in a TV show so much better than their parents. Right? Parents are like, what did they say? Huh? Wait, what? What? And the kids are all over it. They followed it. Oh, Mom, Dad, aren't you paying attention? But it's moving too fast for the adults. But the kids' brains have adapted. Then you throw in video games where they've got to be, constantly on hyper alert. Then you give them smartphones with games, but also with apps and social media. Every single time you do this, you get new things. I mean, amazing, right? Like what in the world ever existed before social media that every time you move your finger, you get a whole bunch of new things? Well, nothing in the world works so fast. You grow a garden. Things take weeks, months to blossom. Plant flowers, you'll water them every day. Finally, a bud will appear. Then many days later, the bud will start to open. Now it's like, I've read everything in my social media feed. I'll just do this. I'll get new things every 3 seconds. And while I'm scrolling, I'm getting notifications. Now, it's the stuff that is making adults develop anxiety, depression, because it's too much. Our brains are not meant for this. We feel overwhelmed. But the kids' brains have adapted in such a way, they've got no issue with it. Multitasking, 10 things happening simultaneously. Now you put these kids in a classroom, one teacher, one chalkboard, one math equation, or one piece of history, and it doesn't move fast enough for their brains. Their brains have been set at a normal that is based not on actual physical life, but that is based on screen life. So when normal life doesn't happen as fast as screen life, to them it seems like slow motion. And kids don't like slow motion. So everything's moving really slow. It seems like the screen is frozen when the teacher is standing at the chalkboard. And so they get hyperactive. Hence we give them medicine that stimulates them, which actually enables them to sit and pay attention to one teacher and one chalkboard. Now, I mention this as we speak about boredom because the same thing happens to us, not necessarily due to the same reason, but some of it is. Boredom is not because of things happening outside. Boredom is because I have disengaged. I am not connected. Think about for a moment. Close your eyes and think about someone you love. But someone that you love with a little bit of excitement and passion. It doesn't have to be romance. Could be a good friend, could be a mentor. Could be some superstar you love who you've never met but you'd love to meet. Now imagine sitting on the grass in a park with that person. Okay. Now open your eyes. How did it feel to sit on the grass in the park with that person? Was it nice? Was everyone connected? Could you picture it? Could you feel it? Were you bored? Were you bored on the grass with that person in the park? In your experience, when you thought of it, did you picture yourself being bored? Now, nothing was happening in the park. I didn't say you were sitting right in the middle of, the World Cup cricket match. You're just on the grass in a park. But you're engaged and connected because of the person you're with. Now imagine yourself at a party, surrounded by hundreds of people, lots of music, lights. But you've gone there alone. You don't really know anyone. You're not too much of a social butterfly. And you find yourself kind of looking around. And then slowly you find yourself wondering, when can you go home? Right? How long do you actually have to stay before you can go home and call it a night? Right? Now in the second circumstance, everything was happening. Big party, lots of people, music, excitement. But we're bored because we're not connected. We're not engaged. In the first circumstance, nothing is happening around us. In the second circumstance, everything is happening around us. But we're bored at the party where we're not bored at the park because of how we are connected. And the solution to boredom is get connected. Be connected to what you are doing. And if you can't be, if it's monotonous, you've got a job chopping carrots in a kitchen, okay. Not very exciting on the excitement scale. But think about what you can use that time for. As you're chopping carrots, you can be chanting your mantra. You can be singing songs. You can be listening to beautiful lectures. You can be talking on the phone to people you love. You can learn how to chop meditatively. You can do chopping meditation, mindful chopping. There's 100 ways to turn chopping carrots into something that's actually engaging and enjoyable. But you've got to get engaged. You've got to get connected. So if you find that you're bored, don't look for something outside to stimulate you. Ask yourself, how have I gotten disconnected? Why did I disengage? And how can I re-engage? The point of the creation, of nature, of the people we share this world with, of our jobs, of our seva, of our hobbies, the point of that is not to keep us from being bored. The point of those things is to enrich us deeply, to allow us to serve. But it's not about, oh, I'm bored, therefore I should X, Y, or Z. If you're bored, don't change what you're doing. Resist the temptation to do something different if you're bored. Make yourself keep doing exactly what you're doing and get unbored. Engage with it if you can, or again, if it's something just as monotonous as chopping carrots, well, use the time. Listen to lectures, write poems in your head, chant your mantra, count your blessings, call your parents, call someone else you love who you don't talk to enough. But do something that engages you. Boredom is all about the inside. It's never about the outside. And our minutes and moments are so precious. So precious. Don't waste any of them being bored. If anyone here has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Yes. 1, 2, 3, and then yes.
Good evening, ma'am. My question is, what I understand from destiny is whatever there is in our fate will certainly happen to us. And so I want to understand, why do we pray? What is the significance of praying? And does praying change things for us?
Beautiful. So the point of praying is to connect us to God. Prayer should not be a shopping trip. So it's not, oh God, I'd like 3 of those and 2 of these and a whole basket full of those. Right? But a lot of times when we go to pray, that's what it looks like. Right? I'd like 1 really good job, 3 or 4 friends who like me, but also kind of are a little jealous, who think that, I'm the best thing that's ever happened to them. Then I'd like lots and lots of people who also really like me, but I don't have time for them. And then I'd like even more than that. I'd like lots of money. So 1 good job, some friends, lots of admirers, even more money. Okay, God? Oh, and one big, really beautiful house, or maybe two. You could have one in one city, one in another, a vacation home. One good husband or wife. A few good kids. It's like a shopping list. So, that's not the point. Point is not, I go to God with a list. The point of prayer is to be connected to God. That's why we whisper. It's said really beautifully, when you're fighting with someone, even if you're very close to them physically, you yell. When you're having a discussion with someone, you talk at sort of a normal. When you love someone, you whisper. And when we pray, sometimes we whisper, sometimes we're absolutely silent. And what it said so beautifully is that the volume has nothing to do with the physical distance and everything to do with the distance of our hearts. So when we fight, we may be really close to each other, but our hearts are very far apart, so we have to yell. When we're having just a discussion, our hearts are kind of closer than fighting, but not as close as being in love, so we talk at a normal voice. But when we're with a loved one, our hearts are so close we can whisper. And when we talk with God, we don't even have to make any noise because God's so close. So that's why we pray. It's not about the list. It's not about what we want. The only prayer that we should go to God with is to help us be closer to God. Right? Oh God, open my heart. Let me feel you, know you. Let me be an instrument in your hands. Feel you flowing through me. Those are the prayers. Everything else is bargaining. Right? We do that all the time, right? If you do this, I promise I won't drink chai or coffee for a year. Like God really cares if you drink chai or coffee? Oh, all right. Well, if you give up the chai, then I'll do what you want. God's not up there to take your chai or to take your coffee or to take your sugar. All God wants is our love and devotion and connection. So when you pray, let it be about that. And in terms of fate, yes, that which is meant to happen, which is written in our fate will, but remember, you are writing your fate. Your fate was not written thousands and thousands of years ago on some cloud in the sky. You're writing it right now. What you do right now is creating your future. So if you want a future, and by future not necessarily 10 years from now, your future is 1 hour from now. Your future is tomorrow, next week. If you want a future that's different than the past, start creating it right now. If you keep doing the same things, thinking the same way, the same things are going to keep happening. It's like if you keep planting apple seeds, you're going to get an apple tree. It's not a matter of planting apple seeds and then going, oh God, give me an orange tree, please. I'll give up my chai and coffee for a year, but just turn this apple seed into an orange tree. Plant an orange seed if you want it. Go to God with your love, your devotion, your surrender. Go to God for awakening and transformation and healing and the truth of who you are. if you want this world to be different for you, create it differently. And you've got the power to do that. You may not be able to change people around you or the situation around you. I always say, you can wear your bikini as long as you want after summer, but it's not going to stop the snow from falling. So it's not that when we talk about creating our life that somehow the universe is just waiting for us to give instructions. Oh, she wants to keep wearing her bikini? Okay, no problem. No snow this year. We'll just keep shining the sun. Yeah, I know it's December, but see, she's in her bikini, so it's going to get cold. Regardless of whether you wear your bikini or not. The universe is going to do what it's going to do. People are going to do what their karmic packages have them do. But you've got the opportunity to change your own fate, your own karmic package, your own issue. That's up to you. How you live in this world. Do you wear a bikini in the winter and catch pneumonia? Right? Or do you go out and bundle up? Learn to ski. Make a snowman. That's up to you. And if you really don't like the winter, you move somewhere warmer. You've also got the power to do that. Okay? Yeah. Yes.
Good evening. So my question is, why are emotionally sensitive people...
Just one sec. He's giving you the mic. Yeah.
So my question is, why are emotionally sensitive people always considered weak?
It's really a tragedy because actually emotionally sensitive people are the strongest. Because to have your heart open in the world as it is takes a lot of strength. To shut down your heart, to not care, to build walls, it doesn't take strength. To me, that takes weakness. That's saying, I can't handle the things of this world. I can't handle grief, loss, sadness. So I'm going to build a wall so that I never feel it again. That's not strong. That's weak. Those who have their hearts open and who are connected to others are actually very strong. People see them as weak because the truth is other people's emotions threaten us a lot. Like, let's say you and I are in a relationship, any kind of relationship, and you're very emotionally sensitive. And I don't like to think too much about what I say or do. I'm arrogant. I've got an ego. I kind of think what I do is right, however I do it. Now, if I do something or say something and you get hurt, I would much rather say, stop being weak, rather than having to look at myself and say, how is it that what I said or did might not have been so compassionate or caring? How have I played a role in what's just happened? So instead, I'm going to say to you, Adhd, get strong. Don't be weak. And that's why people say that. Okay? So, but you have to know that you are strong. That to be sensitive and to be open is to be strong. But you also have to remember that there is an element of protection. That if you know you are very sensitive, that it's going to make sense for you to bring into your life. So for example, we do a lot of tree plantation. Now when you plant a tree and it's just a little sapling, dogs eat it, monkeys eat it, elephants trample it, all sorts of things happen to it. So we build tree guards around the sapling. Okay? Then we discovered people would steal the tree guards because it was metal. Then we had to hire guards for the tree guards. Right? So in order to keep that sapling safe, so that it could grow its roots and become strong, we had to have 2 levels of protection. Ultimately, we started building them with bricks instead, and no longer needed the guard for the metal. But that tree guard is necessary for a while. And what I would say with you is, if you find that in your sensitivity you're getting hurt a lot, what can you do to protect yourself? It's not about turn that tree into a wall. The tree is still there. The tree is its beautiful, supple, sprouting self. But we've just put a wall around it, not right up on it, not suffocating it, not keeping it from living and breathing and growing and blossoming, but kind of at a little distance but around it, to protect those who would eat it from harming it. And when you're really sensitive, you've got to do a little bit of that in your life. There may be situations, there may be people who you know it's going to feel like you're being eaten alive. And you want to avoid those. But if you find that you're avoiding so many people and situations, then the question becomes, okay, why is it that not only am I sensitive, but that I actually allow someone else's words, behavior, to eat me up? Just being sensitive is beautiful, but it doesn't mean that I constantly absorb. You know, we're energetic receivers and we're energetic transmitters. We're both. We're energetic beings. We feel vibrations and we give vibrations. Right? And we know that. You know that there are places you're in, people you're with, and it just feels right. Feels good. Vibrationally. And then there are places or people where vibrationally it just doesn't work so well. And we also give out vibrations. Others are feeling that about us. When you are going to be in a situation that you know is difficult, I want you to, before you go into that situation, make a very conscious flip of the switch inside that says, right now is a time I'm going to be transmitting instead of receiving. I'm going to turn off my inner energetic receiver as much as possible. And I'm going to turn on my energetic transmitter instead. And you're going to transmit as much love, as much peace as you have in you, rather than taking in the energy of that world. And then you come to places like Rishikesh, and you come to the Arti, and you come to the Satsang, and you're surrounded by beautiful people who love you and support you, and you say, now I'm going to turn on my energetic receiver. And you receive, and you receive, and you receive. And that's a very conscious decision that we all have the power to do. And so if you find that you're very sensitive, and you don't want, obviously, to restrict yourself, can't go there, I get hurt, can't talk to this person, I get hurt. Because then otherwise you end up kind of in a jail of your own. So instead, just develop this ability to kind of go from receiving to transmitting mode and transmitting to receiving mode. depending on where you are. Okay? And don't worry about what people say. People have said that those who are different than they are weak, stupid, wrong, as long as there have been people. It's sort of a tragic aspect of human nature. But don't let it make you feel badly. Allow your beautiful open heart to be beautiful and open. Okay? Good. Yes. You can take that mic.
Good evening and thank you for your time. Being ambitious made me feel that I don't have enough time to reach my goal, and that led to a situation where I grew older in my mind than I am, say 10, 15 maybe. And this is now affecting me and the people I am, who are around me, the friends with whom I grew up. I find their acts to be kiddish. So how do I get out of it? Have I crossed the fine line between being over-ambitious and ambitious? What is happening?
So, there's no specific line between ambitious and over-ambitious. The question is your focus. Ambitious is wonderful. We all should have ambitions. It's wonderful. Every one of us, when we talk about fulfilling our dharma, we should have ambitions. Somebody's ambition might be one thing, somebody else is different. But ambitions are what get us out of bed in the morning. Right? It may, as I always say, simply be an ambition to empty your bladder or to have a shower. But that's what motivates us, these desires or ambitions. The dilemma comes when we become focused on something that is a material goal, and we go after that to the exclusion of everything else. And the dilemma with that is that ultimately the joy in our lives, the meaning in our lives, the fullness in our lives is not going to come from what external achievement we have achieved. And I say this to you as someone who has grown up in a world and also lived in a world, pre-India and after coming to India, both, amongst people who have achieved everything, accomplished everything. The absolute highest level of achievement on any levels, in any sphere. For a brief moment, there's a satisfaction, I did it. But then it's something else, and then something else, and then something else. That's the nature of the mind. So, work for your ambition, absolutely. But ask yourself, what is it I am working for? What is it giving me? What is it teaching me? Am I blossoming as a being day by day? Am I getting more and more compassionate? Am I more in touch with the presence of the divine in me? Am I more able to share love with others? Am I more and more conscious? And if not, then ask yourself why you're dedicating all your time and attention to something that ultimately, even if you achieve it, isn't going to give you what you really want. Ultimately, what we're all looking for, if you take every ambition, every goal we have, and you actually say, all right, you want to be, let's just take, CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, let's say. just as an example. First, you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to invent something, then you're going to make a company around it, it's going to become super famous, you'll make a whole bunch of money. Okay, it's a common ambition. Nothing wrong with it. But now, watch it for a moment. Say, okay, you've gotten there. What is it that you want from that? Well, then I'll have a lot of money. Great, okay, and then what are you going to do with all that money? Well, then I'm going to buy the things that I want. Lots and lots and lots of things. Okay. And then after you have lots and lots and lots of things, then what? Well, then I'll be happy. If you take whatever our ambitions are, and you look at actually what we are going to gain from it. Okay, this, then what? Then what? I want to be a super famous Bollywood actress. Okay, great. You're there. Then what? Well, then everyone is going to love me. Everyone will respect me. Everyone will love me. Wherever I go, everyone will say, oh, okay, that's happening then. Then I will feel worthy. Then I will feel enough. Then at the end of the day, I will feel like something. Then I will finally be happy. Now you see, ultimately what we're looking for is happiness. We're looking to feel worthy, we're looking to feel enough. And we're looking for happiness. And by the way, that's a great goal. There is nothing wrong with happiness as a goal. That is the goal. That is ultimately the goal. But the goal is to be happy in a way that doesn't go up and down. The problem with looking for happiness in this way is, first of all, it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and there's no guarantees. You could give the next 15 years also to the ambition. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. Lots of startup companies start and go nowhere. Lots of people lose lots of money on investments in new businesses, new companies, new ideas. Now, I'm not saying don't do it. Do it by all means. We're here on earth to create, to use our skills and talents. Do it. Absolutely do it. But don't put such blinders on that in that ambitiousness, you are forgetting the things that actually will bring you happiness, that are guaranteed to bring you happiness, that are not a risk, and that are going to bring you happiness a lot sooner than when you finally become the CEO of this multi-billion-dollar company, or the famous Bollywood actress, or whatever the ambition is. And those things are our spiritual practice, our connection with others, our ability to serve the world around us in whatever way we may have, but to make a contribution. So stay ambitious, no problem. But allow there also to be some space in your ambition for right now. Because ambition's all about the future, the goal ahead. And the message with that is, right now is not a good enough moment, because I still haven't achieved it yet. That will be a better moment when I achieve it. Meaning right now is not a good enough moment. And that's depriving yourself of the incredibleness of this moment. So let there be some spaciousness in your ambition. And especially if you notice that people who really love you, good friends, caring friends, say that you've become over ambitious, blinders on to all of the rest of really what matters. So pursue your goal, pursue your ambition, but also remember the here, the now, this moment in which your happiness actually lies. Because you can't be happy tomorrow. You can only be happy right here, right now. Good. Yes. Any other questions? Yes. Last question.
Pranam Sadhviji. My question is in this difficult moment of COVID, and now how we see things are evolving in Europe and USA, one feels quite disheartened, and I feel that sooner or later it's going to impact the India. And in this moment, how do we stay self-motivated?
You know, it's so interesting because COVID has made everyone so, as you say, worried, scared. We've seen it. We've seen it for the last almost 2 years now. The only thing we can do is keep doing what we're doing. Wear masks, stay socially distant, protect yourself, hope that others will do the same. Sadly, there isn't anything more that we can do for COVID other than try to get the message out to others to also take it seriously, also wear masks, also social distance. But what's important here is that COVID is going to end as a pandemic. Whether it becomes endemic, whether it eventually goes away, either way, this pandemic will end. We thought it was going to be over now, looks like it's not. Okay. So another 3 months, 6 months, 18 months, whatever it is, it's going to end. The issue is, there's so much else that is actually even so much more likely to wipe out humanity than COVID that we're not actually paying any attention to. Things like climate change, lack of water, the way we're destroying our environment. Many times more, I forget the statistics, but many times more people have died in the last year from air pollution than COVID. Okay, so we can't do anything about COVID, but we can do something about air pollution. So take that anxiety, take that fear, take that worry, and use it as a catalyst to do something about the things that you can do something about, that are actually far more dangerous. Work to abate climate change. Work to protect our water. By 2040, the world is going to have half the water it needs. United Nations statistics. India is on track to be there by 2030. Okay, that's basically tomorrow. Half the water we need we will have, drinking water. Can you imagine having 50% of the water that you currently do? Okay? Having to decide between bathing and eating? Or actually rather, one bath equals 3 days worth of water. So do you bathe or do you drink for 3 days? And cook? That's the situation you should be worried about. And that's a situation we can do something about. The rising sea levels. So much of India, so much of the world is going to be in the ocean. That's much more likely to wreak havoc on our lives. When our cities are underwater, it's a much greater threat than COVID. No mask is going to protect you, except like a scuba mask. Worry about those things, because those aren't going away anytime soon. There's no vaccine. There's no antiviral. But we actually can work today to prevent that. So if you're worried, get up tomorrow morning and start working for water. How can you help? That's really interesting. The mic wasn't in anybody's hands, but somebody was joining us from somewhere with a microphone. Figure out how to work for water, how to protect the water we have, how to not be wasting water, how to keep our rivers clean. It's like what I was saying on the banks of Ganga tonight about soil. Become a staunch advocate for organics, because the pesticides and the fertilizers are polluting our water and rendering the tiny little bit we still have left toxic. Become an advocate for clean industries, because the factories where we buy almost all of our stuff are spewing their waste into the air, killing people with air pollution, into the soil, decimating our soil, and then into our groundwater, ruining the little bit we have left. Eat chapatis instead of rice that's grown in places where they don't even have water, but they're diverting all of the water from rivers to grow rice in arid valleys, because people want rice. Eat grains that are sustainable, that don't require that level of water. Become an advocate for vegetarianism. The meat industry is one of the greatest contributors to lack of water and world hunger, climate change. So there's actually so much you can do to avert the crises of the future that are actually much, much more dangerous than COVID. Much more likely to kill many more of us than COVID. So work for those. And keep wearing your mask. Keep maintaining social distance. And pray for people all over the world. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us through this gift of technology. And I look so forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. And so much love to you.